I'll repeat that. You'll introduce yourself, what you do, and something interesting about working with you. I'll start here from the gentleman, Steve.
Thank you. My name is Steve Njenga. I run activities at MoFund Africa as a CEO. The motivation behind starting MoFund is just seeing that there are so many organizations which have good intentions, founded by Africans, solving African problems, that struggle to grow. Numbers are 97% of African founded and started organizations struggle. Most of them die, most of them don't stand 2 years. Only a paltry 3% manage to survive, generate income, sustain activities. That is the motivation of starting MoFund to try and create interventions and support those organizations. What's interesting about working with me, I am frugal. I look for solutions, talk to people. What works, works. What doesn't work, doesn't work. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are looking at, collaboration and not what? Collaboration and not competition, right? So I'll pass over to the other panelist to also introduce herself and the work that she does, and clearly one thing interesting about working with her.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Monica Muhoya. I'm a social entrepreneur. I run 3 organizations. One is called SisterSpeaks, global ventures that looks at women and girls empowerment through knowledge and bringing a community of like-minded women. And then, because our communities have a price to it, we have a foundation within the organization called Heals for Pies Foundation. So what we do a lot of awareness around menstrual health, making sure girls from low-income communities have access to menstrual products and information, leveraging social media. So we make periods cool. And then the last one, it's called Kike Lab. I have something called PCOS for women whom I know. So it's basically a menstrual health disorder that affects your hormones. So this lab wants to understand what's really happening. Are we breathing PCOS and other menstrual hygiene related disorders in Africa? Basically just coming up with data that will inform modalities or different interventions that we can design to save women from fibroid, PCOS, and all these things that we are seeing coming up. One thing that you will enjoy working with me, an outside of the box thinker, and there's no detail that you will speed through. I will always catch it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Out of the box thinker, we really like that, and also very attentive to details. So as I put it back to you, my brother, basically I want to understand about the work you do. What led you to number one, start moving? It's called MoFund Africa, and clearly what fueled you to put the resources together? What were you seeing in the market as a gap, and how are you feeling that?
Thank you. So I have worked in the development sector for quite a number of years now, in different capacities, impact measurement, designing programs, raising funds, and throughout that space, worked for local organizations, worked for international organizations, spread activities in East and South Africa, and I realized something. In the capacity that I was operating in, working with a big brand, big international brand, I was able to raise a lot of money, and as we raise money, we are working with local organizations. Local organizations means, in that context, locally founded. Most of them are in the community. And when it comes to project implementation, You get a grant, and then you work with a community organization here and there and there and there. And then they all get small bits of money here, which is basically activity-based budgets. Now, I know for all of you this is non-news, you know how it works. What happens is that these organizations get that activity money. You need to run a workshop, it's a campaign. It's a campaign on GBV, or it's a campaign on sex education, or whatever it is. That budget covers that activity. Now the entity and the people who run it, it's nobody bothers about that. And most of these founders don't have this understanding of what a social enterprise is. Because even that organization needs to run as a business. It needs to have its cash flows properly balanced, salaries taken care of, internal systems and processes, manuals, procedures, governance, all these things. But these things cost money, they cost time to prepare, and most of them take away the little resources that this organization is able to get. Based on this learning, and I've done a lot of business development support work, supporting social enterprises to design strategies, go-to-market, revenue models, so I understand a bit of how things work. In terms of raising money, also how the fundraising landscape works, you all have been involved in an area or another in writing proposals, looking for funding, looking for partnerships. You still need to write down, how do we collaborate? We have just been talking about collaboration here. Whether your proposal is seeking funds or whether your proposal is seeking partnership, you still need to articulate how you need to work together. So these organizations are unable to clearly articulate this. They struggle with raising funds, and most of them will have one or two people who are working full-time writing proposals, and they struggle to find money. So MoFund, the motivation behind starting MoFund was, is it possible to share a bit of the knowledge that I have acquired, plus many other people in my network who are able to share this knowledge, share these experiences. How do you raise money? How do you build institutional strength? How do you network? And how do you collaborate effectively? So we do three things at MoFund Africa. We build capacity of African-founded social enterprises and non-profits, and we help them build internal systems, procedures, manuals, the whole back office stuff that any funder will ask you when it comes to your books, tax compliance, all of that. And part of that building capacity is also exposure to information, knowledge, and practice of how to build strong organizations sustainably. And the second thing not to do at MoFund is linkages. Linkages to funders and grant makers. And we do this because we have also realized, and most of you know this, how grant makers and investors and funders struggle with building sustainable pipeline. They struggle to get a quality pipeline, and that's why you will end up seeing calls for proposals. Ever wondered, how do these calls for proposals get generated? Who writes this thing down and says we're looking for an award, apply this, if you're focusing on this and these areas, apply for this. They are trying to find organizations that are collaborating that way. So that's the second thing that we do. We have individual philanthropists also who will ask us to help them because they don't want to do all the administrative work. Ask us to help them find quality grantees, and some of them don't even have continuous money. They just have small amounts of money, they want to do things, and we help them to map grantees.
Oh, nice.
And the other thing that we do is impact measurement, because we help measuring impact for these African organizations. You end up producing what you call activity-based impact report, which is based on whichever activity that you're doing. That's not an impact report. It's an activity report. You did an activity, an workshop, you train people. It's nice to see because it can show your work. But we do that using AI, time for technology, and we help them curate their work, and they're able to tell their story through technology.
Yeah, so thank you for that. So what's coming out clearly is, business development for the different organizations that you're working with. To the other side, you're very heavy on gender advocacy and social entrepreneurship. Would you please share exactly what led you to actually go in that particular direction, and also why you even co-founded your organization?
Thank you very much for that question. To my fellow co-panelists, I think you brought up very important things us as social entrepreneurs go through, and I think it's Sonana Numatent. So I think it's very important that we meet people like you and spaces that you're creating exist to support the things that we're doing. But SisterSpeaks started as I was transitioning from the corporate world to the social enterprise space, and I was looking for women who has either gone through that kind of transition where you lose a job and then you're looking to transition from a formal employment to entrepreneurship, heads on. So I was looking for women who are in that space, and I couldn't find women who either wanted to be in a safe space where I could talk about what happened, what went wrong in my former job, and how can we move forward. So I met Angela, and Angela was also transitioning from the UK to Kenya, and she was also looking to meet women who have the same values, again, same mission. So we came together and we decided to create a free of judgment safe space where we can just be ourselves and sort of go against the grain, where women are supposed to be handed things, and we hear about things that women, a door has to be open for them. So we wanted to open the doors for us, or even build the building for ourselves and other women who want to build the building. So that's how SisterSpeaks came about, and as the name suggests, is freely, just let's have a dialogue. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working for us. And then we hosted our first event, 7th April 2019, and the demand was very inspiring. So we went from just having 15 people come to our event to now a community of over 10,000 women. So it's been a learning journey. It's been so inspiring to see women who want to come to our platform and learn what we're doing. But along the way, we realized now that you're meeting in Nairobi, who is creating those spaces for girls in Turkana in Kwale County. So we realized that we are connected by something very important, which is the power of periods. So formative research in Kenya indicates that 65% of girls and women, they don't have access to safe menstrual products and education. That's shocking. 65% for a country that is thriving, in terms of technology. We call ourselves middle income country. So, but unfortunately, there's so many girls who are being held back by this period poverty. I have seen someone wearing a t-shirt from OK. Great job that you're doing in the menstrual hygiene space. But also, to my point, I was talking about girls being held back from going to school because they lose more than women, not being held back from participating in economic development. So what inspired Heals for Parts? I'll come to your point where you wanted to know why SisterSpeak, personal journey. Heals for Parts is to convert this community within SisterSpeaks to pay it forward. And it was simple. I am seeing a few high heels here. For me, I don't look at them as high heels. I look at them as sanitary pads. So Heals for Pads was an innovative approach to raising awareness. Basically, when you wear a pair of good high heel or a good pair of shoes, you walk different, you have different poise, you have confidence. Imagine giving the same confidence to a girl to stay in class and thrive in higher education past it. So symbolically, high heels is give confidence to a girl, and they can go to reach their goals. So the community that we serve, or community within SisterSpeaks, they donate high heels, and we convert those high heels into sanitary pads. We call them the tools or the shoes of hope, and they help us to walk to the menstrual freedom that we all want to see, where girls stay in school and women thrive in economic development.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'm also looking at the audience, and I'm seeing a couple of people wearing heels. So if you have some extra pairs, please give hope to other sisters who are in school to actually attend school and also experience their menstrual cycle with what we call dignity. Now that we have clearly understood the different organizations and what they do, it's time to jump into the conversation. So we are having the discussion behind impacts at scale and looking at it from system innovations, and clearly, just before we go deeper, what is system innovation? So to give you a very good example, it's, for example, you thinking of a car, and instead of you just thinking of it as, wheels, we have engine, we have body, you now go up and from the bird's eye view, you can clearly see how everything fits. Like having the bigger picture of how, business development will feed into communication, on how communication will feed into, let's say, for example, training and all that. So figuring out how everything interconnects with any other thing, so that your organization or your social entrepreneurship venture will be able to run successfully. And at the same time, we have tech on the side. So what is tech? Tech can be anything, but generally, these are tools, these are machines, these are processes that can be used to make the life and the work that we're doing easier. Now, my panelists today will be speaking about how do we plan for impact, and how do we even sustain it, and how do we ensure that we do not go from 0 to 100, then back to 0. Now, back to you, Stephen. You have worked with organizations when it comes to, business development and all that. Then what is the one thing that you actually consider when working with the organization? And I want you to address this from your particular experience, and also feel free to give more insights on how do we even, number one, start to plan for scale.
Thank you. So planning for scale, first thing is a mindset. That's how it starts. And mindset shapes everything else, because the tools, the systems, all of those follow the mindset. Now, you have given a good example of a car. Think about systems change at a much, much bigger scale. Now, in Africa, we still struggle. The biggest challenge that Africa has is poverty. Education, literacy levels, we're still struggling. And everything else is a multiplier effect of those. We still poverty, so disease. We are all one disease away from poverty. If your parents get sick, you know how the healthcare system works. And you guys are the ones being depended on by your entire clan. If somebody gets, so it's not just your parents, but your cousins and whoever else. So everything else becomes a multiplier. So I was speaking about the challenges that we face in Africa. And without getting too philosophical about why do we even have non-profits, why do non-profits exist in the aid sector? Because there is a problem that you're trying, like what SisterSpeaks are trying to do, there's a problem. They're trying to address it. There's a reason for their existence. If that gap would be filled, there would be no reason for them to exist. They'll be doing something different. Probably help these girls get into business or generate income, but they're existing to solve a problem. Now that problem doesn't exist in isolation. These girls come from homes. These homes, there are many other variables. So when you think about systems change, is in whatever intervention that you're creating, whether it's education, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's financing, it doesn't exist in isolation. So when you design with all the other variables in place, you start building partnerships that make sense, that stop the initiatives at where you begin and continue at where you end. So in terms of collaboration, and the biggest reason why most of the African organizations and initiatives, and even some of the international ones, they're really struggling because of the silo mentality. Vincent has explained in detail this challenge. It works globally as well as Africa. It's just that in African-founded organizations, starting from a trust deficit in terms of building partnerships and raising money. Now, this systems change thinking It influences, number one, the design of your initiative or the design of your program. If I use the example from SisterSpeaks, the girls are not in isolation, they exist within a community. Now, the boys that are within the same institution are also a factor. Why is it that the girls are being helped and the boys are not? Right? So the awareness raising cannot just be on the girls alone, but they will say, but it's not our mandate to focus on the boys. Then they'll be thinking, okay, then who focuses on the boys? Then you'll look for them and say, we have an intervention, we have a clear focus area, but we can't do this alone. That is part of systems change. And then you'll be asking them, can we collaborate on activities? Can we collaborate on learnings? Like the learnings that we're generating, can we do it together? And can we collaborate in raising funds? Can we collaborate in this is how collaborations work, this is how it starts. So you realize how the mindset affects everything else. And that way you are able to raise money, you are able to build partnerships, and you are able to influence other places, including healthcare. Because the parents from where these girls come from, healthcare is a problem. They are unable to, they don't have health insurance. NHIF is a problem. We used to have Linda Mama and all these other programs. Now because of our very good government, we have none of this. Right? Yes, we have shifted. Healthcare is, it's not a shift issue. Right? And this is not just a Kenyan problem. It cuts across in Africa. And this is also the flip side of where money flows. Globally, about $4 trillion is spent in aid and in that intersect of social entrepreneurship. And some of us are beneficiaries of the money that is flowing in this industry. The money that is coming to Africa is astronomical, that is trying to purportedly solve these problems. But the people who know where these problems are not in the lead of these conversations. We are unable to raise money, significant enough money to influence systems. What we look for money for is for activities. Because those activities, we are in charge of them. It pays our salaries. It covers our staff. We are able to showcase our big amount of work and the numbers of impact on our websites. But we are not doing systems change. We are maintaining the status quo. So the mindset that we are talking about has to start with us, and you start attracting the right kind of money, because not every kind of money is good. I like the example you gave, the eco-toilet guy. The check is on the table, but it comes with strings attached. So do we have the strength as founders to say, this is interesting for me, but it is a mission creep. It's outside of our scope of work. So systems change is the mindset, and then everything else, including the tools of measuring the way you safeguard your scope of work, saying that we are focusing on this. The example that I've given on for SisterSpeaks, focusing on girls, and saying that we can't do everything. And we are not closing our eyes and imagining that girls exist in isolation. They exist together with the boys in the same class. But since we can't do everything, we can collaborate this way with others. We can ask the government to come on board and help like this. We can create stories. You can build all these trends on Instagram. You don't have to be an influencer or to hire one. You can engage one and collaborate so that they do what they do. Don't try to learn or don't try to copy. You let them do what they're doing and build it for yourself. That's how to achieve systems change on a macro level while contributing on individual pieces.
Thank you so much for that. So to go on the other side, you've already spoken about, systemic innovation and changes and mindshift and how we can easily explore that. But one of the most interesting things currently is data. And as oil, now people are comparing oil and data currently, and I don't think, or rather, I don't want to know that the reason is because data is being extracted, same as oil. Something that we clearly all don't want, but it is happening. So to SisterSpeak and also Hills for Pad, in terms of data, how do you even leverage technology to make data-driven decisions to ensure that your work is effective, your work is efficient? And in terms of like technology as a whole, how does that come in handy for you as an organization?
Thank you very much for sharing. Great points, particularly on who is talking to the boys, who is taking care of the boys. So what we do as SisterSpeaks, we ensure that we have people who are like-minded and they don't just want to discredit the work that we do for the girl child, but they also want to contribute, even if it's not like a football, as a product to the boys, they can come and just talk to them. There's a lot of issues around mental health, so if you just come and share your story with a school, they will be okay. So if anyone is here and would like to see how we can collaborate, you're welcome to do so. But to speak about how we are leveraging technology, number one in awareness raising. So in terms of making noise on social media, particularly Instagram, UX, LinkedIn, we come up with these thought-provoking campaigns and social experiments that paint a picture to everyone. What is the scale of pure poverty? What is pure shaming? And I think here I will just let us do 1 minute of silence to remember Jacqueline Chepngeno. She died by suicide because of period shaming, and we mark 5 years this month because she was taunted by a teacher by soiling her dress. So that's just 30 seconds for Jacqueline. Thank you. So that's the magnitude of what we're trying to tackle. That a girl, because she doesn't have sanitary pads, she lost her life by suicide in 2020 rather. So as Heals for Pads, what we're trying to do is to make as much noise as possible across the social media platforms. And to go a step further, because we did a lot of distributions during COVID and post-COVID, what we've been learning is sometimes you give the teacher the sanitary pads that you have brought, but you don't know whether these girls are going to benefit because you give them a sanitary pad, one packet for that month, and then you expect them to go back to the teacher to collect another pad. But unfortunately, because of the attitude and perception around period, there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of fear around this conversation. If it's a male teacher on duty, as a girl, I'm not going to the office to look to get a pad. So as SisterSpeaks, out of that data, we realized that there's an opportunity for us to ensure that we have, number one, smart distribution, and number two, we have a way to engage the entire community, and number three, using data for monitoring and evaluation. So what we are doing currently, we are putting pad dispensers in schools. So pad dispensers are mounted in a safe room where girls can access at any time. Then we give them a pad ATM. So a pad ATM is preloaded with 12 swipes. So each swipe is a pad. So as Monica, I'm in grade 5, I know where the dispenser is. So I have my power. I don't have to go to the teacher to ask for the pad. So what the dispenser does, you swipe, it gives you either 1 or you can swipe or the 12. So the 12 is because out of the data again is extracted from our interventions, we realize girls use a maximum of 3 pads a day for a cycle of 4 days. So in case she goes overboard in terms of depleting her 12 swipes, she can go to the guidance and counseling teacher. So we are working within the school system to ensure that girls feel comfortable to be able to approach the guidance and counseling teacher to get the extra pad. On the side, we have a dashboard embedded to the dispenser, so we see real-time data. And what this data helps us to do is the behavior change. So number one, if the girls who are fearing to go to the office to get the pads, are they using the pad dispenser more? So it also helps us to design our programs better. So our bigger the scale, the impact at scale, we see ourselves serving 50,000 girls a day in the next 5 years to ensure that they come to class and they are able to complete their school and go on to be great people in the society. And then to tech, we have a mentorship program that is embedded again on the program. So we partner with tech ecosystem. So whenever we are going to the school, we ask either program designer, software designer, a developer to come with us, and they can talk to the girls. We brought 150 women together, and then we invited tech leaders, MD Catherine Muraga, who is the MD of Microsoft. So she was very raw with how she got there. We had other, tech leaders who spoke about what it takes to create or build a career that is successful. This is to girls who are either at the entry point of their career or straight from university. So that's how we are ensuring that, data comes into play. And of course, we are creating communities for women. And people are saying we are in the knowledge economy. So basically, data is a very valuable thing. So center design. So sometimes we'll go to the girls, particularly those on wheelchairs. We'll bring them reusable pads, but they're not designed with them in mind. So we wanted the moms to design for their girls in terms of reusable pads, and then they get paid for that. So it's one of our programs that cares for, that targeted the caregivers. So that's what we are doing in inclusion and targeting people who are in special needs. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the next question, going to Steve. Yes?
I'll be audible. Because you focus on Africa, I would assume you're also learning from what's happening globally. So what are Africans not doing that we can learn from global so that we can borrow better or get the chance to borrow money? And what are Africans doing right that we, for those of us in the room, we need to learn in terms of, especially maybe even from a Kenyan perspective, we can be better at borrowing and receiving, because you can...
Big brands, and they scare. It's just an individual who has a family, who is a mother or a father, who is interested in doing good. Like the example Vincent talked about, people who work in government, we don't know when we start talking about government, we don't have a lot of good things to share, isn't it? But there are individuals, good, genuine men and women who work in those institutions, who are interested in solving the same problem as you. Okay? The secret that I would like to share that has worked for us at MoFund is we have appealed to individuals. We have individuals who we are supporting. They are looking to do good. They are looking to do some work. They just need to find out there are a lot of philanthropic individuals in Africa. Our dream at MoFund is that Africa funds its own initiatives and it's from African money. And we have already been doing that. 70% of the aid money that is flowing in Africa is coming from Africans. Africans in Africa and Africans in the diaspora. All these foreign development funds is constituting of only 30%. That 30% is what we keep competing for to write proposals and get funded. And we keep saying we have 1 round funding cycle, 500,000, $1 million to me. It's good money, but it's only 30%. The rest of the money comes from Africans. It means that Africans are giving. Now, in terms of the global giving index, Kenya is always number 2 or number 3. You can check it out. Philanthropy, globally, Kenya will be number 2. It means that Kenyans are among the top of the most giving people. So the problem that we're trying to solve, whether someone else will give money to you, they'll give attention to you, they'll open doors in places that you do not have access to, it is because you are able to appeal to them and share that issue without thinking of, okay, if I share this, chances are they're going to copy what we're doing. Okay? You need to stop me because they are so passionate about this. Why should we fight while we are helping girls? Okay? So the more the ability to collaborate, and the biggest secret, that's why they say small-minded organizations founded by small-minded, you will always think of competing. You see an opportunity, you don't want to tell anyone, you go call it.
In your organization that you use, basically in relation to the conversation we are having today, and equally looking at the future, exactly how do we plan to scale in the future? Oh, sorry, so before I give Monica the mic, please, if you have any burning question, we'll be taking only 2, so prepare.
Great, thank you very much. Top secrets. I call them Triple H. Head, heart, and hands. So if I got into your heads when I told you about the magnitude of period poverty, then I got to your heart when I told you it's a girl who committed suicide because of period sharing. So this is me coming to you. What can we do together by giving me your hands? We jointly work together. That's what works for us. Head, heart, and then action. Kenya Education Fund, I think we can do something. We have top girls in very, very low-income communities that are brilliant, but unfortunately they miss school because of this menace. So can you adopt a dispenser? And then number 2, I think having a strong why. So a strong why, my mom was a teen mom, so that's my why. I don't want to see more teen moms as a result of transactional sex because of period poverty or not going to school. Number 3, I think God. I know God. That's another secret. You can't do your business without consulting the one who gave you the vision. So those are the 3 things that I go to. Thank you.
So since you have a bit of time, looking into the future, exactly how do we plan to scale? With the ongoing tech trends, blockchains, there's IoT, there's generative intelligence and all that.
This is something I'm very passionate about. I'm a woman in tech. I have a background in IT as well, having worked for a company that was mentioned here somehow. But in my consulting work, I do a lot of skilling and retooling for youth and women in Africa. So I work for UNITA. UNITA is the training arm of the UN. And what we are trying to do is, how can Africans have a say in AI models? So you're coming here to tell me we are the youngest population. Basically, we are the consumers you are developing tools for. So why don't you put me in the middle of generating data and actually making sense or creating value to that data? So that when you go to the West with your technology, you have at least my lived experience that will be half sold with what you bring back. So that's number 1. Number 2, I think we have to stay ready. You can't have, we call it, don't have a bedroom affair with your business. Shout, tell everyone, oh my God, I gave one girl a sanitary pad. I will tell everyone I did that. You never know who will multiply that. So you can use all the tools available, especially social media. It's very, very powerful, especially us in the social enterprise space. And of course, number 3, the power of unlocking investment opportunities as women. So there's a research I think that was done that indicates only 2% of women have the share of investment. I don't know how many look like me because it was done in the States. So how many more women, maybe that's a question for you, how many women are actually getting good ticket sizes in the investment world, particularly from the impact investors? Because I've been chasing those impact investors and we are still refining our business model. And we really have the numbers. We have been able to impact 24,000 girls in 21 counties. So what else do you need? There are girls who are staying in school. Give me the money and I can be able to serve 50,000 girls a day through the dispenser. And I'll give you the data you need. So I think, to say data is the new oil, but also data has a lot of negatives and positives. So I think it's good to know as organizations and entrepreneurs what kind of data are we producing and how is it being used. And then when it's used, how is it serving us and the people we serve? Yeah.
Thank you so much. Please give digital for my panelists. Digital. Thank you so much. So we'll just take 2 questions. One thing I'm currently exploring is my other moderator is not very close on. I'll tend to use more time until. Oh, no, we are fine. Okay, so I'll just pass the mic. Okay, so basically, please, if you're able to speak louder so that I can just even handle